Hello, welcome to this open day, this online open day, live open day. I'm live from the London College of Communication, and welcome to this open day on BA Honours Media Communications. I'm joined here today with one of our star third year students, Angad. Angad, do you want to shout and say hello? I don't think they can see you, but they can certainly hear you.
Hello, I'm Angad, and I'm studying final year of Media Communications, and back to Jonathan.
Brilliant. Okay, that was quick. That was very swift. Okay, so I'm going to spend a bit of time with you, and welcome to anyone who is watching this online through the recording. I'm going to spend a bit of time talking to you about BA Honours Media Communications, which is at the LCC. And if you have any questions, please do pop them in the chat, and I can address those as we go through. And I'm going to be inviting Angad to kind of make his contributions as we go through. So let's start with some introductions. Oh, that was quick. Right, my name is Jonathan Wright. I'm the program coordinator for the Communications and Media program. I'm currently the acting course leader for BA Media Communications. I can hear a beeping in the background. I'm not quite sure, Angad, if you could switch your thank you very much. Switch your microphone off. So I'm currently the acting course leader for BA Media Communications. The real course leader, or the course leader you will be meeting, should you decide to do this course, would be Thomas Yiekoglu. And here's a picture of what Thomas looks like. On the team, we've got a wide range of practitioners and theorists teaching on BA Media Communications. But a key figure who you'll be meeting is Lainey McCarley, who is a senior lecturer in media communications. So let me start off with a bit of housekeeping about how this webinar works. Basically, you can't, unlike Angad and I, you can't use your audio at the moment. We did this because it helps develop the broadcast quality and you don't have sirens in the background or dogs. As I said, there are questions you can ask. Please write them in the questions box in the control panel. And then what will happen is my colleague Steve Brown will read out those questions at the end, and I'll try my best to address your concerns. This is also being recorded for our LCC YouTube channel. And also make a note of the other people who are in the session. They're also muted as well. So you are in an online open day for a course at the London College of Communication. Well, I'm sure you've all have heard of the LCC before, but the London College of Communication is comprised of three schools. There's the Design School, there's the Media School, and then there's the Screen School. The course BA Media Communications is situated within the Media School, and I'll say a little bit more about the other courses that you can find within this school as we go through. So we are one of 6 colleges across the university, and we've got about 18,000 students from over 130 countries. And the Media School in particular has a relatively comprehensive portfolio. So we've got an area that's dedicated specifically to publishing. We've got an area that's specifically dedicated to photography. But within the program of communications and media, you find BA Advertising, BA Contemporary Media Cultures, BA MC, Media Comms, and also a BA in Public Relations. Those of you interested in what happens after your undergraduate course, we have 3 particular MAs on offer. We've got MA Advertising, MA Media Communications and Critical Practice, which is closely related to media communications, and an MA in Public Relations. But you're not here to hear about all those other courses. You're here to learn a little bit more about BA Media Communications. Well, and I'm going to take a sip of water here to keep myself hydrated. Well, basically, BA Media Comms, or BAMC, is a course that looks at the ways in which the media shapes the culture, shapes the society that we live in today. But what makes BA Media Comms at the LCC distinctive is the fact that we really do focus on the impact of the digital. Today, we recognize that media participation is actually part of media consumption. So that's a really kind of key lens that we use in the delivery of our course. The course is driven by theory. We are asking our students to be critical, creative thinkers. So there's a certain amount of sociology and ideas from the humanities that we draw upon in order to enhance our understanding of the media and creative industries. But that critical thinking, if you like, has a direct dialogue with some more practical components of your studies. So all the units that you engage with will have some criticality, but you'll also have an opportunity to be creative and to engage with different forms of media and produce different kind of media assets. So that's a really kind of key USP, if you like, or a unique selling point of the course, and a key draw to why many people choose to study media communications at the London College of Communication. Throughout the course, whilst developing that critical thinking, we also think about how the media operates, and that's where the practical skills come through. So in terms of development, in terms of delivery rather, the course is delivered through lecture series, obviously through seminar workshops and discussions, but also more practical workshops where students get to develop a whole range of transferable skills. You get to collaborate and engage with media content. I think I'm doing a lot of talking here. I'm wondering whether or not, Angad, can you give us a flavor of what you think is special about the media communications course?
So it's like a very good mixture of theory and practical. So in the first year, it's gonna be a good mixture, like 70% theory, 70% theory, 30% practical. But as you go forward in second year, it becomes more practical. There's more practical element combined with the more theoretical element. So, and there's very diverse. Like you get to do a lot of different things, like making a photo book. There's going to be photography involved. There's going to be videography assignment. So we'll work with the film tutor for that. There's going to be research involved. So you have to go out and research social media. What are people talking about? What's the public discourse on a certain topic? And we've got actual, in the third year, you'll get to actually talk to clients. Like they want media help. So like suppose they want you to develop a website or they want you to develop some content. So you get in direct contact. So it's a range of different things. So yeah. Thank you, Jonathan.
Thank you. It's good to put a bit of color to what I'm saying here. But in some respects, yes, regardless of what you're interested in, if you're generally interested in the media and creative industries, there's something happening on this course that will kind of really engage with your passion. And for that reason, and I mentioned the kind of debates and the areas we draw upon, this course is incredibly multidisciplinary. We draw our ideas from a range of different particular places so that you'll engage with quite a lot of kind of media theory, which is partly based in sociology. There's aspects of cultural theory, which is based more in the humanities. So there's lots of different ideas in this course that you'll be kind of negotiating. And in some respects, when I come to a more unit-specific set of discussions, I will explain what happens in year 1, year 2, year 3. You'll see how that kind of frames through. But a big focus, I suppose, on this course is also around the notion of media convergence. How do different discrete forms of media talk to one another? How they networked, how they kind of connected together. And I said that media participation is part of media consumption. Well, we have a strong emphasis on this course on an examination of what's described as participatory culture. So we're interested in users, we're interested in fans and fandom, we're interested in how people engage with brands and organizations. So there's a real focus here, I suppose, on the sort of social understanding of media technologies. But we don't look at technology in the way in which it's in and of itself a driving force. Technology feeds social and cultural and economic needs. So we have a look at the relationship between the technological, the social, the political. And yeah, very much looking around what kind of future does the digital media platform look like? So what kind of student decides to do BA Media Communications? Well, as I said, the course is really, really ideal for students who want to sort of stay broad. You might, listening at home or watching at home, you might think, well, actually, I'm really interested in going into the area of PR, but I'm not quite sure I want to do a PR specific degree. What are my options? Well, BA Media Communications could lead you toward that aspiration of working in PR or marketing or social media or a range of different facets and places within the media and creative industries. And this course is really designed for you to spend 3 years experimenting, working out where you want to go. There's plenty of practical experiences as well as intellectual opportunities that this course offers. So it's a course for students who, in some respects, are looking for a passport to a variety of different destinations. About a quarter of our students are international, so it's an incredibly diverse, culturally a diverse space. And it's a course that really attracts students who want to think critically about the media. They want to think, they want to have a critical perspective and look at areas to do with storytelling through film and photography and podcasting. And want to engage with the media creative industries, both in an intellectual fashion, but also having some practical experiences as well. So we do on this course, and I've kind of alluded to this before in terms of its delivery, but we do on this course try to fuse theory and creative practice together. And in some respects, I would argue that all the creative opportunities that you have on this course, all the points at which we ask you to make a short film or produce some social media or a podcast, always we'll ask you to use this form of creative practice to think more critically. So there's always a relationship between the theories on the course and the practical opportunities that the course asks people to kind of engage with. So we look at, through this creative and critical kind of lens, we look at the development of social media platforms. We think about emergent types of sociality. So what is the material impact on the way in which we understand and social behaviors? How is that regulated? How is that framed through the use of social media platforms? And we also think about ideas to do with regulation as well. So it's about the ways in which technologies fit socially and culturally into our lives. How do we form and sustain relationships? And one of the things we look at is online dating platforms. We look at new trends, particularly transmedia storytelling, whereby stories are told over multiple different platforms, engaging in different kind of audiences. We think about, as I said, what does the digital future look like? Not just in terms of technologies, but also the kind of cultural ebbs and flows that go with that. Whilst we are a broad course, we appeal to a variety of students who are interested in maybe going to a variety of different places within the media creative industries. We do have something of an industry focus. And one of the things Angad mentioned is in the third year, you have an opportunity to engage in particular with an external client. We have a kind of a live brief, but that's not the only thing that goes on. There's plenty of opportunities to investigate and look at real life industry focused case studies within the course. There is in the second year an opportunity for students to develop their personal industry professional skills. And there's lots of professional media skills opportunities available in the units which require students to create a particular kind of asset. We also have a focus, particularly in the second and third year, around enterprise and employability. We often align ourselves with industry partners, both as part of the brief, but also as in relation to talks and interventions with industry partners. But we also run a diploma in professional studies, a DPS option between year 2 and year 3. It's optional for students, but they have an opportunity to spend a year in industry gathering their experiences, which they then can feed into their third year studies when they after which they will graduate. There's also a diploma in creative computing as well, which serves a similar kind of purpose. So as I said, in terms of our connection to industry, we've got the live project set in year 3, which is actually, Angad, as you're going through this at the moment, can you tell us a bit more about your experiences of the live project?
Of the live project. So we're working with an architect. So she has a lot of projects around all over, like she has projects in Africa, she has projects in the UK. And so she has a diverse range of projects, but she doesn't have a good website to promote her work or a good social media. So we're working with her right now. We are like around 70 kids and 70 students in our course. So we have different groups and everyone's working on, someone's working on like a promotional video, someone's working on a website, someone's making like a photo book for her, someone's making like a motion graphics, like a virtual reality, like you press onto the project and you are on their project live, just researching, like just going around what's happening digitally. So, and we've gotten in touch with her, we speak to her, what does she want, she tells us, and then we deliver it to her, she tells us, okay, fine, this is okay or not, and then we move forward from there.
Brilliant, yeah. And in previous years, we've worked with the Cinema Museum as well, and Franco, and various other things. And what, as Anna kind of described, often we're kind of brought in perhaps to solve a problem or to address an issue that an organization may well have. So we, and can I also say that very often the recommendations that our students or the ideas those students come up with often are moved forward within that business or that organization. So yes, that's that kind of key part. However, I know that many of you will have tuned into this YouTube video or are sitting listening to this live, are particularly interested or more interested, I suppose, in terms of what actually happens in the course. Now, I'm very aware that this is a very long journey I'm mapping out here, but I want to spend a bit of time talking about how the degree is structured, some of the exciting opportunities you have for being creative, but also kind of critically thinking within the course, and the ways in which the year one is structured into the transition to year two and year three to see what that kind of journey would look like. One thing I'm sure many of you are looking at this noticing is that we have set units. There are some kind of options that are available for you, but most of the units you'll be doing as part of the cohort. And we do this partly because it's really important to create a sort of sense of kind of community within the course, because that feeds directly into a lot of the creative work that students kind of undertake. So it's kind of the teaching and learning is kind of more or less built structured around 6 blocks that run over 3 years, and each year has 15 weeks in it. So you can do the maths in terms of how many weeks of teaching you get. So block 1 is very much designed to help students transition from further education into higher education. And so we have a very important set of conversations around what being at university means, what are the opportunities of being part of a large multi-campus university, what are the, not just the creative, but also the social opportunities that are available, but also what does it mean to become an independent studier, an independent learner. University life provides students with a lot more latitude to work out how they're going to plan their time and the kind of activities they want to engage with to help them become active learners. So that's really one of the big things that we do within the Introduction to Media Communications course, a course that exists on every single one of the undergraduate degrees with the introduction to and the name of the degree. So it's a unit that really defines, helps students work out what the course is going to be about, how they're going to proceed with it, but also we introduce the students to the variety of different resources that are available across the LCC and across the university to help them with the teaching and learning. At the same time, we also run a course called Creative Foundations. This is a really, really very important unit in the first year, because it's the unit that introduces everybody on the entire program to the key creative skills that you'll need to carry yourself through for the rest of your degree. So we look at storytelling, or rather creative writing, storytelling. We have a look at creating audio content. We have a look at how to create web-based content, and we teach students how to produce film and video content. And this Creative Foundations unit is designed to help students understand what criticality is, but also to help them realize and produce just some very early kind of examples of those 4 skill sets that we have. At the same time, or shortly after after Media Communication Intro to MC finishes, we have a course called Media Life. And here you explore the kind of interconnected and multifaceted role of the media in our daily lives. And the course really runs through a really interesting set of kind of case studies which help us kind of interrogate the environment of emerging media landscapes and the social and cultural fit. Once you've done block 1, you'll feel a little bit more acquainted with A, studying in higher education, and B, what opportunities this course can offer. And so in block 2, we step up the pace a little bit with 2 key courses that are available right across the program: Media Communications and Culture, and Platforms and Social Media. And Media Communications and Culture really is providing students with the some of the fundamental concepts and the vocabulary that you'll be using throughout your degrees. So we'll be thinking about how media industries form, transform, the influence of communication industries, and we also have a look at, you know, the related practices around texts and users. And so provides us with a key set of concepts that, again, you can carry through, and not just for year one, but bleeds into year 2 and year 3. We also got a course called Platforms and Social Media, and this is very much a unit that looks at social media and the various different kinds of social and cultural perspectives. You also get an opportunity to create forms of sort of social media as a way of evidencing that learning. And then finally, we have a course I mentioned about you know, storytelling as being very important. We have a course called Transmedia Storytelling, which is a practice-based unit as well, and you have a look at the flow of narrative. And as I said, I think a few slides before, through this notion of convergence, the way in which stories are told across a number of different platforms. So by the end of year 1, you'll have a fairly clear idea of, again, what student life is going to be like, and some of the fundamental ideas and critical practices that are found in a media communications degree. Year 2, we take a slightly different kind of shift. We focus a lot more, I suppose, around the professional development of our students, and this kind of connection between industry and well, your studies and industry. Excuse me, I'll need to first. So, as I said, one of the things that we focus on in year 2 is the kind of connection between your studies and the kind of employment opportunities you have. So in order to support that process, in order to support you moving forward into your career, we have a unit called Professional Industry Practice, which isn't just about brushing up on CVs, but is a kind of very proactive unit that gets you to think kind of critically about what kind of opportunities and what are the working conditions of working in the media and creative industries. And so we think about ideas around employability, but also what kind of opportunities, as I said, are available. So we look at ideas around placements, internships, we have live briefs, we talk about freelance employability. Running alongside that course, there's also a course called Global Media Business Practices and Cultures. And here we have a look at the way in which globalized communication industries are organized, the relationships between business and aspects of media and creative communications industries. And we also have a look at various different work practices within the creative industries as well to identify competencies and form behavior. So there's an interesting dialogue, I think, between PIP, as you could abbreviate it, and global media businesses. And remembering what was happening in year 1 around the Creative Foundations unit, in year 2, you have a unit which is called Creator Culture, and this is focused more toward creative-based models of media networks, different kinds of content, and we have a look at content within an industrial kind of framework. We also have a look at longer-term developments, both in terms of consumption and production, and the kind of evolution of audiences and this sort of overlapping of systems of distribution. So, as I said, building on some of the stuff that was discussed in Creative Foundations, this is a contextualization to that, and also speaks a little bit to media life. Then in block 4, we do a course around communications research methods. This is partly designed to help you for some of the more independent project work that you will be doing in year 3. And we also have a course around the media environment. So we have a look at the relationship between media and environmental issues. And we do this through a series of both local and global case studies. So you get to make a sense between the media and some of the social environmental justice. Alongside that, you also have a level 5. You have a series of level 5 options, and they include opportunities for you to focus on going back to Creative Foundations, to focus on audiovisual content or film and video. There's a sound-based unit, there's a writing-based unit, So the level 5 option enables you to really sort of take some of these creative skills that you've harnessed in year 1, you've developed slightly in creative culture, and to kind of push that forward and to kind of specialize. Then in year 3 is a little bit more real focus, I suppose, on a lot of independent study. So you have the dissertation, whereby students get an opportunity to write an extended piece of writing based on a question that the students design themselves in an area that they find most interesting. In fact, Anga, you're going through this process right at the moment with your dissertation. Do you feel brave enough to share what you're doing? What's your project about, and how did it come about?
So I was the dissertation is supposed to be for us about 10,000 words, and then it's like accumulation of all the theories that we have studied all past the 2 years. So like if you like a topic about like suppose research, so I'm going to be using theories from the second year to come into my dissertation and research about my topic. So I was working on a 4-day work week, and what's the public discourse like? What are people talking about in the media industry, and how is changing everything? So I've just started it. I've got about 5 or 6 months to compile it all together. But right now I'm just going back to the theories in second and third year. I'm also producing a visual element to it. I'm very confused about how I'm going to do it, but all the theories I was used in second and first year, I'm seeing like now they're important, like to bring it out what I need to submit. So yeah.
Excellent, yeah. And curiously enough, I have only yesterday spent most of the day looking at all the proposals for the third year media communication students, and it's quite kind of remarkable how I said that the focus on the kind of the social impact of digital media is a kind of key point within this course. But I think a lot of the students have picked up or reflect that in their particular research areas as well. So yes, and I mentioned about the kind of 4-day week. In some respects, I would challenge anyone to kind of find a project that didn't in some way, shape or form talk to some aspect of the media communications degree. So that's really interesting. So you'll have an opportunity to do an individually supervised project. There'll be another level 6 option as well. And these are options that reflect some of the specialisms of some of our staff teams. So there's a particular optional unit, again, around media and environment. There's an option around sustainability. There's even an option, I think, around online dating or romance online. So these are things that we'll kind of present to you nearer the time. And then the final stretch of the course is basically the final major project, which is currently what we'll call the live project, so an opportunity for students to work explicitly with an external kind of client. And we've also got a the Creative Futures unit as well. So you've got a kind of interesting kind of mix of things, and often people use their third year as a way really to sort of focus on the things they really find interesting and to use all that practice that they've accumulated over the years in their studies as almost like the kind of calling card to the next step. And we have certain various different, I suppose, kind of thematics running in each particular kind of block. So we start off by looking at the sort of the media technology and the social sphere. Then the second block is a lot more about content creation, I suppose, in relation to storytelling. And then in block 3, we focus a lot more around kind of audiences and digital labor. So there are certain things or themes or ideas that run through the course that are developed step by step. I do realize that that's a huge amount of information, but I wanted to give you a flavor of how the course runs and some of the kind of key things that we discuss, things that we look at. So what's it like to study at university? Well, what we do is we endeavor to make sure that classes are scheduled over no more than 3 days. Usually scheduled learning hours is between 10 and 15 hours a week, but if you remember when I was saying what the Introduction to Media Communications course does is introduce students to independent learning, you're expected to use the facilities and engage with the course in an independent fashion for between 25 and 30 hours a week. So that's the kind of balance. There are plenty of fantastic facilities for students to access. We've got a 3D workshop, we've got a creative technology lab, Well, yes, we've got a canteen and a Taibo cafe for you to kind of get refreshments. But we've also got the digital space, which is a space that you can drop into anytime, and there are technicians around who can help you. And it's a place where you can do everything you need to do on the Macs available. We've also got a kit room where you can hire professional standard equipment. Our students particularly take out the audio equipment and the film equipment, but we've also got library services and everything else that you would expect. It's also important to say that as a student at the London College of Communication, you actually have access to all the resources right across the 6 colleges. So I thought it would be rather interesting, rather useful to share a couple of examples of creative work that our students have done. So this is an example, and believe that this is a year 1 unit. It's a unit we used to run called Audiences, Transitions and Futures, but now we'll speak more to that storytelling a unit we have. This is a short video project produced by a student of ours, and this is a project that looks at the pitfalls, some of the issues around engaging with social media.
Hi fam, it's me, Chloe, and I'm so freaking excited to be filming this video today because we have reached 5 million subscribers. 5 million, there's 5 million of you guys, and I am so happy to announce, and of course we're gonna celebrate, but actually this video has a slightly different purpose. I realized how much of a support you guys have been for me throughout all these years. You are like a family to me. There's nobody in this world in real life who I consider closer to me than you guys. So I only feel that it is right that I tell you about this very important thing that is happening in my life right now. And I don't know how to say this. I didn't think this was gonna be so difficult. Oh god. So me and Steven are gonna be having a baby! Say, I love you guys! 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 You guys are my family. Guys, I've been reading your comments and let me say, oh my god, you are the most supportive, best family I could have ever wished for. Thank you guys.
love you more than anything.
Yeah, made by one of our first year students, the dangers of engaging with social media and the issues of being a social influencer. I've got another short example also to show you here from some work some of our students in year 2 did around part of the kind of collaborative unit, but essentially it was very similar to this idea. We had a client, we had an issue that wanted to solve, and this particular year in 2018, we got our students to produce some sub-advertisements. So to produce some campaigns around social issues. And one of the social issues our students engaged with the use of legalized highs. And so this was a promotion campaign for an anti-drugs charity called Talk to Frank. And this is an example of how students used very simple use of audio visual material to produce their advertisement.
Once upon a time in a faraway land lived a beautiful uni student by the name of Annie, who longed for adventure and a degree. The princess had moved away from the mystic land of Margate to the foreign realm of London City to be the belle of the ball at Freshers' Week. On her journey to the ball, she met her flatmates, Ursula and Eric, who invited her to their epic house party. Annie danced the night away, drinking potion after potion until she spotted her Prince Charming. Growing bolder by the minute, she told Ursula of her wish to have one true kiss from the man across the way. Ursula offered the princess an enchanting elixir called Midnight Oil. She promised it would give her confidence and allow her to relax. What could be the harm? The room began to twirl and blur before the princess's eyes. She had finally found the adventure she'd been so desperately seeking. Veins laced with poison, she approached her prince, ready for her one true kiss. But disaster hit when the clock struck midnight. Annie's limbs grew heavy and weak, as if her body was no longer her own. The princess no longer knew what was real and what was in her head. With the aroma of poison in the air, many cackled and snapped the princess in her mortal state. The clock struck 3, with many noticing Annie's slovenly state. Overdrugged and docile, the princess was whisked away without her horse and carriage, where her wounds were mended and mind corrected. So there she was, all alone, far, far away from home. Her fateful night, once filled with laughter, never had a happily ever after.
Yeah, one of the things I like about that video is it's incredibly simple, a very simple use of still, well, kind of a single shot, simple images thrown on a blank piece of paper, and a very clever monologue. So if that's the kind of stuff that you think is interesting and also kind of critically engaging, then this is why BA Media Comms is for you. All the open days I've ever done, always we showcase some of our graduate stories, and looking at this list of rather kind of illustrious places like the Tate and ITU. We have students who go to a variety of different places within the media and creative industries, and I think this list represents the diverse number of places where you can go. So we've got people working for Tate, for large organizations, for the kind of culture industries, but at the same time we've also got people like Janika who have more or less gone into a kind of a freelance role, producing and broadcasting. We have students who are comfortable both behind the camera but in front of the camera. I think it's very important. We also get students who stay local. Circle, who go into very specific areas of marketing within education, like Anisha. So our graduate stories are always a kind of key thing we're very proud of on this course. And these are students we invite back to talk to our alumni we use to talk to our current students to kind of, in some respects, kind of reinforce the importance of why doing a degree like this is so exciting. Finally, before I hand over to you and the questions you have, we often get questions at Open Days around what to do around the personal statement. And what I would say is that the personal statement really needs to sort of speak to your love and interest and your passion of the media creative industries. Some of the best personal statements I've read will include kind of anecdotes of, oh, by the way, I'm an avid poetry writer, or I'm a vlogger. It's really very much, we're looking for why is it that you want to come here, particularly to do your studies, but also what can you feed into, or what can you put into this vibrant thinking and kind of creative culture that we have. So I think I've timed myself rather well, because we now have a few minutes left for any questions that you might have. I don't know, Steve, has anything come up in the chat for Angad and myself?
Hi, Jonathan. Yes, thanks. Yes, we have a few questions, and so I will read them to you one by one. So the first one is a question that says, I'm interested in studying media communications, but not sure which university to study at. So they obviously have a few in mind. What would you say are the advantages of studying at an arts university like LCC?
That's a really good question, actually. I would say that studying media communications at a university that is renowned for its position with art and design, UAL, means that you come to study a theoretically driven course, yes, but you're also in a uniquely creative environment. So we share a building with photographers, we share a building with sound artists, we share a building with people who are looking at virtual reality, we share a building with people who make industry standard films. So it's a really good opportunity to immerse yourself in a creative environment. And because we are in that space, and because we have some fantastic creative content resources, I think this makes the LCC a particularly appealing place to study. Not least also, sorry, Steve, are they looking at only London-based universities? I will say that, you know, we are in a perfect position here in South London, right on the edge of Waterloo and the South Bank. So it's a very exciting place to be studying the media and creative industries.
Thanks,
Angad,
Jonathan.
I can see Angad is nodding in agreement here. Angad, why did you come here? Tell us.
So before coming to UAL, I was studying in Canada, and I was studying media as well. But I can't compare London and Canada, but other universities could be very mechanical. So like some universities may have just the theoretical aspects where they'll teach you, just learn the definition, put it all out. And some universities are just practical. So like they'll just tell you, like, just give me the videographics material. But here it's a perfect mixture of theory that I personally feel. So they teach you what you need to do, and then you do it to show to them that you know how to do it, if that makes sense.
Yeah,
So,
yeah, it makes perfect sense. Yeah, sorry, I'd already sort of explained the relationship between criticality and creativity, and I think that's a particular strength of a media communications degree. Some of which can be very much based maybe within only within the social sciences. So as Angad said, wouldn't have those creative opportunities, but we are, in terms of employability, we are kind of helping students create, on the one hand, amass a certain kind of critical cultural capital, a critical way of thinking about the world, but also a portfolio of evidence that they can be creative and engaging, and have a real genuine understanding of the creative industries that they have been studying. So yeah. Any other questions, Steve?
Yeah, the next question is, would you be able to estimate the balance between practical work and theory?
I would say that historically it's been 70% theory, 30% practice, but I would actually question the logic of that question, because in some respects the way in which we deliver, there is this clear synergy between theory and practice. So I don't necessarily sort of differentiate the moment. Well, I think, for example, that academic writing can be seen as quite kind of a creative act. But I would say probably kind of 60-40, 70-30 is the kind of formal balance. But I think in terms of how students experienced it, I think that creativity is so clearly embedded in the academic discussions, and the academic discussions clearly feed into what the students do creatively, that actually its experience has been kind of synergized. Does that make sense? It's blended together.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Thank you, Jonathan. So the next question is actually for Angad. What's the social life like on the course and at LCC, and how do you balance your university and social time?
So when you start uni in your first year, it's a very like a time of anxiety when like you meet a lot of new people. Everyone's coming from different background. Everyone's much cooler than you. You're like, oh, I'm not so good enough, and then you start talking to them, and then you figure out like, you know, you just figure out how to just go about the social matrix, like just getting hurt sometimes, finding new friends, or just going out. But then apart from that, also like you have to balance academic and social really well, because sometimes social may have an impact on your academic lives. You may be going out too much with your friends, not putting in much independent study hours into your uni life, and then that may just misbalance your just whole year. But then first year is very not very heavy on you, so you get a chance to just go out, explore, like, you don't make some mistakes. But second year onwards, you automatically, most of us, we get an idea of how to balance things, like how many hours to put in, how to manage my social life. So it takes time, but you should be fine.
Thank you.
Thanks, Angad. And this next question may be for both of you in a way, but this question is, I'm really interested in studying media, but not sure what career I want to go into when I graduate. Is this course going to prepare me for particular careers? If so,
This course, to be honest, this course equips students with critical thinking and a set of creative skills, but those forms of critical thinking and those skills can be transferred into a range of different potential jobs within the media and creative industries. I'd say that historically a lot of our students, because of the emphasis on the digital, have gone into various forms of what we used to call new media, now we just call media, digital media. So no, the course is not necessarily designed to help students go into a particular specific industry, but most of our students have gravitated toward careers that mean they engage with the audiovisual digitalized content within a digital media context. I don't know if that helps answer the question. Angad has an idea.
So as Jonathan said, this is a very diverse course, and you get to learn a lot of things, which is a plus side. But there's also a negative side where, like, in third year, you may just be there in third year and you're like, okay, I don't know what to do, because there's so many things happening. You have so many interests. Everything is very nice because everything is so creative. So you may get a bit confused in the end, but if you have the will to like just know what you want to, like, you have specific interests, you could go into that. Or in media schools, they've got other courses as well, which you can have a look, which are very specific industry focused, like advertising or PR, but this is quite confusing to some extent, so yeah.
Well, yeah, but as I said, this is a course designed for people who specifically want to have their options open, but obviously not having a predefined destination in your first year might be anxiety provoking for some people. But I would ask Steve, I would ask whoever asked that question to try and reach out to me and contact me, and I'm very happy to kind of talk about what they're interested in, where they imagine they're going, and how media comms can help them get there.
Thanks, Jonathan. And just on that note, in terms of like student graduate destinations, I take it it's a very broad set of careers that the graduates go into.
It's very broad, but I think I forget the statistics. I think it's something like 96% of our students go into graduate employment within 6 months. You may have those stats more than I do, but I know the percentage is very high that students end up in jobs that are graduate entry level.
That's great. Thanks so much, Jonathan. That and Angad. That's the last of the questions. So
Okay.
If you have any any more, any final words, then that'd be great to hear them, and then I'll end the session.
No, all I would say is, well, thank you so much for joining myself and Angad for this conversation. Hello to anyone watching on YouTube. Yeah, if you scroll through this recorded video, you'll see at the beginning I left my email address on, I think it's the second slide. So if you do have any particular questions for me, drop me a line or visit the university's website and look me up, and you can find my contact details there as well. So yes, all good. Angad, do you have any final, like Jerry Springer, any final kind of profound comment to make?
Just explore your uni life. You don't know where you may end up after your 3 years, so just go out, have fun, just learn some new things, and you should be good.
Yeah. The more you put into your studies, the more you put into you get out of it. There you go. I said it in on a cliche, and that was it. Thank you.
Thanks so much. Thanks to both of you, and thanks for everyone that attended. And I'll end the session now. Thank you.